In the dark and brutal world of the Middle Ages, there was a man, a warrior who obeyed no king, a commander who marched between two enemies, a leader who built his own army and conquered a city with his own hands. Christians feared him, Muslims respected him. Every battlefield trembled when he appeared. He was honorable, he was ruthless, he was a strategist, and above all, a legend. His name echoed through history with only one title, El Cid, the Lord of Honor. And this is the story of how an ordinary man became an unstoppable myth. Fact 1. El Cid is not a name, but a title. Many people think El Cid was his real name, but it wasn't. El Cid is actually a title, taken from Arabic, Al-Sayyid, meaning the Lord or the Honorable One. His true name was Rodrigo Diaz de Vivar, a young nobleman from Castile. But it wasn't his birthright that made him legendary. It was his actions on the battlefield. Warriors from both sides, Christians and Muslims, saw his skill, his discipline, and his unexpected sense of honor. They didn't call him Rodrigo, they called him El Cid, a title earned through blood, strategy, and respect. A title that would outlive his own name and become a symbol of one of the greatest warriors in medieval history. Fact 2. He fought for both Christians and Muslims. El Cid was unlike any other warrior of his time. In an age dominated by religious wars, he broke every rule. At different moments in his life, he fought for Christian kings, and at other times he served Muslim rulers. To many, this looked like betrayal, but to El Cid, it was strategy, survival, and honor. He chose alliances based on loyalty, opportunity, and justice, not religion. Because in his world, war wasn't about faith. It was about strength, respect, and the code of the warrior. This strange dual loyalty made him feared, respected, and completely unpredictable. And it is one of the reasons why El Cid became a legend that crossed borders, cultures, and centuries. Fact 3. He had his own army, the army of El Cid. El Cid was not just a warrior, he was a leader who built an army from the ground up. His army wasn't made of ordinary soldiers. They were men who believed in his honor, his strength, and his justice. Every fighter in his ranks was loyal, determined, and fearless. El Cid treated his soldiers with respect. Rewards were shared fairly, betrayal was never tolerated, and the commander always stood beside his men in battle. Because of this, his army wasn't just powerful, it was legendary. The warriors saw him not only as a commander, but as a hero, a symbol of courage and honor. The army of El Cid became one of the most feared forces in medieval Europe, and everyone knew one thing. When El Cid and his army stepped onto the battlefield, victory was only a matter of time. Fact 4. He conquered Valencia with his own strength. One of El Cid's greatest achievements was conquering the city of Valencia on his own. Valencia was wealthy, heavily fortified, and strategically extremely important. El Cid acted without any king's orders. He relied only on his own army and his own strategy. Instead of a direct assault, he used blockades, clever maneuvers, and gradual pressure to weaken the city over time. The battles were long and difficult, but El Cid's soldiers were loyal, and their leader always stood at the front. Eventually, Valencia fell, and El Cid took control of it as his own domain. This was extraordinary for the era, a single warrior gaining a major city through skill and determination. Valencia became El Cid's most legendary victory, and it sealed his place in history forever. The army of El Cid became one of the most feared forces in medieval Europe, and everyone knew one thing. When El Cid and his army stepped onto the battlefield, victory was only a matter of time. Fact 5. He was a master strategist of warfare. El Cid was not only a powerful warrior, he was a master of battlefield strategy. Most armies of his time were large, heavy, and slow-moving. But El Cid broke these rules. He used light troops, rapid assaults, and sudden maneuvers. He did not force the enemy into direct confrontation. Instead, he wore them down, weakened them, and eliminated them piece by piece. El Cid often cut off the enemy's supply routes, launched night attacks, used multi-directional maneuvers to confuse opponents, and delivered continuous strikes that defeated enemies psychologically. With these tactics, he had the ability to dismantle even the strongest and most heavily defended armies. His strategy made him not only strong, but extremely dangerous and completely unpredictable. Both Christians and Muslims watched El-Cid's every move carefully, because each action he took was calculated and crafted with precision. El-Cid won battles not only with his sword, but with his intelligence and his plan. Fact 6. El-Cid's soldiers were always loyal to him. El-Cid was not just a commander. He was a leader and an inspiration to his soldiers. Every warrior in his army believed in him, trusted him, and was ready to fight for him. El-Cid treated his soldiers very well. Loot was divided fairly, no one was favored or treated unfairly, and the leader always stood beside his men. This created a strong sense of unity within the army. The soldiers did not fight only for payment, they fought for honor, respect, and their love for El-Cid himself. This loyalty set his army apart from other forces. Many commanders saw their troops as expendable, but El-Cid valued every single warrior. Because of this, his army was both powerful and extremely determined. El-Cid's soldiers felt they were fighting not just for a commander, but for a hero. Fact 7. El-Cid's most important battle. El-Cid's most famous and decisive battle in history took place during the Siege of Valencia. This battle lasted several months and unfolded under extremely difficult conditions. El-Cid did not try to defeat the enemy with a direct assault. Instead, he used siege tactics, blockades, and sudden attacks. He drained the enemy's supplies and shattered their confidence. Throughout the siege, El-Cid stood at the front of his soldiers, showing himself in every attack and giving strength to his army. Eventually, the enemy lost their resistance, and the city of Valencia came under El-Cid's control. This battle was more than just a victory. It was a masterpiece demonstrating the strategic power of an elite military leader. The capture of Valencia carved El-Cid into history and made him one of the greatest warriors in Europe. Fact 8. El-Cid's life is preserved in an epic poem. El-Cid's life is preserved not only in historical records, but also in an epic poem. This work is called Cantar de mi Cid, and it is one of the oldest epic poems in Europe. The poem narrates El-Cid's battles, his loyalty, his honor, and his strategic brilliance. It is rooted in real events, but it is also filled with heroic exaggeration and legend. It shows how people of the Middle Ages viewed El-Cid as a warrior, a leader, and a true hero. The poem is more than just a literary piece. It is a historical document that reveals how El-Cid transformed into a legend. Because of this, El-Cid left his mark not only on the battlefield, but also in culture and literature. Fact 9. Even El-Cid's death became a legend. El-Cid died in 1099, but even his death turned into a legend. Before he passed away, he requested to be buried in his battle armor, together with his sword and his war equipment. This was a symbol of his entire life, because he saw himself above all as a warrior. His coffin was decorated with his armor, his sword placed beside him, and every detail represented his honor and heroism. Later, his tomb became a sacred place visited by many. People viewed him not only as a historical figure, but as a hero for all generations. Even in death, El-Cid strengthened his legend, because he was remembered as a hero just as he had lived. Fact 10. El-Cid's name still lives as a powerful symbol. Highly detailed version. El-Cid is far more than a medieval warrior lost in the pages of history. He remains a powerful symbol that continues to resonate in the modern world. More than 9 centuries after his death, his name still echoes in literature, cinema, theater, military culture, and even popular entertainment. Across many countries, the name El-Cid instantly conjures images of honor, bravery, loyalty, and leadership. He represents a warrior who remained true to his principles, a commander who blended intelligence with strength, and a figure who earned respect from both his allies and his enemies. His story has endured for centuries not just because of the battles he fought, but because it speaks to timeless human qualities: courage in the face of adversity, strategic brilliance, loyalty to one's companions, and resilience against overwhelming odds. El-Cid became more than a historical personality. He transformed into a myth shaped by storytellers, poets, and chroniclers. The famous epic poem Cantar de Mio Cid played a major role in turning him into a legend. Through this poem, his life was immortalized, blending fact with heroic imagination and preserving his legacy for future generations. Over time, artists and writers continued to reinterpret his life, from medieval manuscripts to modern novels, from classic films to contemporary video games. Every retelling added new layers to his character, reinforcing his status as an enduring icon.